Good morning and welcome to the Breakfast Club. This is a pre-recording for today because I'm going to be taking the rest of the month off. I'll be back probably mid-month or beginning of September. Not quite sure. Going to go out and enjoy myself for a little while. Just going to give you a bit of analysis on what I'm looking at for the charts for British pound today. This is non-farm payroll week, so be careful. I'm looking for, and I kind of drew all these things out, not that it's actually going to go through all this stuff, but I'm kind of looking for a retracement down into somewhere into a discount portion of this range. There's a little tiny fair value gap, or there's a small piece of fair value gap left here. This is about 50% of this range here. So if we get a retracement back into this little area here and close that gap in on top of this inversion gap, we might get a run above this old high back into a daily fair value gap and slowly start working our way either just into the wicks, or it could just run right through, may even drop down into a lower discount range. So remember your consolidation, it can return to the top of the consolidation here. There's a tiny little bit of fair value gap here, so kind of keep that in mind as well, but look for a discount in this range first before you decide to get on top of one of these inversion fair value gaps. You'd like to see it retap that and then get back up into this higher range fair value gap, work its way through different order blocks. Even if it comes back into this would be a breaker once we get below it. So if it comes back, tags the top of the breaker or the bottom of the fair value gap and works its way through, look for your higher objectives to somewhere be up in, let me make this a little clearer here so you can see. Up into this range up in here. We want to see it kind of clear out this whole range here. That'll be our upper objective for the day, back into this breaker here. So be careful with this breaker. You're looking for your midpoints, your open or your low, your open threshold. If you start to break through those, look for the higher time frame fair value gaps to support price, or for you to aim for price. And let's close those up. Now let's look for the next one. Weekly, we have euro dollar. It's come back into the bottom of that weekly fair value gap there, and we've got a little bit more support or a little bit more upside potential here. So you may see euro make a little run to the upside this week. Let's look at the daily. We may still get another retracement down into, keep your eye on these fair value gaps here on the daily. And then we have this piece of fair value gap still open up above. We also have this inversion fair value gap now that we've broken down below it. We've come back into the edge of it here. So if the bodies respect that fair value gap's opening, look for a run down back down into this fair value gap here. It looks like we have support at the top as a fair value gap to provide support. We also have this breaker down in here as well. So look for this area here to fill in. We might get just a tag off the top of this order block here, the body or the threshold. So look for a bit potentially upside, then a run down. So I'd be kind of looking for something like this. A run up to here and then back down into that area there, kind of like that. Okay. Then we got, the problem with this thing is you have to keep clicking it back and forth here. All right. Swissy, let's look at Japanese yen. Not a lot of people like Japanese yen. It's pretty sideways. It's got a little fair value gap. It's working right now. We have this breaker here. We may get some reaction off this breaker. There's a small price imbalance just inside here. So look for a price to have a small reaction off of here. Off into that little range there. Closing that fair value gap. Oh, that's on the minute. Let's go up into the daily and see what's going on. Okay, so the daily we have that fair value gap up there. There's this long breaker right here. From here to here. That's a significant breaker on the daily side. So we got an upside objective, so kind of keep your eyes open for this one here. Hourly. We've broken these old highs here. This creates an inversion fair value gap here now that we've got above it. We haven't even come back and tagged it again yet. So we also have this hourly fair value gap sitting down in here. I do like yellow. I like bright colors. Here we go. So look at this order block to hold price. If we lose the threshold of this order block, look for the wick here. And if you lose the wick, look for this return back into this fair value gap here to hopefully either provide support or just return back into this equal highs back here. S&P daily. Let's go to the weekly here and see what we're up to. We have an inversion fair value gap over here. It's the first place I start is with these little gaps. And because we're on the weekly, we make that gray. So as you can see, we've broken above it, come back, we find some support here. That might be pretty small on your screen. But you see as we break through it, we come back, find support at it. That's kind of a good sign to see. And we want to see this run. We're back into this big breaker here now, this 2-week breaker. Last two up close candles before they run below an old low, before an old low. So we want to keep an eye on this area. Is this going to provide support? So we're coming up for the body here. So you'll see I've got the lines already in place here for the body of the breaker, and then the halfway point between these two before running up into that last up close candle. So those are my levels there. Let's see if we can make that a little bit bigger for you. So 46.27, 46.27, 46.38, and 46.76 for the upside for weeklies. Daily, you have these. We're looking to get above this old high here. We're already working into the midpoint of this breaker here. So you may get some support bouncing around off of here for a bit before breaking this old high. Then we've got a smaller fair value gap way up here. We'll make that blue because that's the daily. So look for upside objectives. We got a small one in here as well. So kind of keep your eyes on these levels to reach for the daily. And this price level is 1468 or 4668, 4706, 4729, and 4772. Those are my upside objectives for the S&P 500. New Zealand, I like this big gap up here. Let me have a look at down here first. Make my point about inversion fair value gaps and how wonderful they work. So here's, as we break above price, as you can see, it comes back into it, tags it nicely here. It's okay to come back into it. It comes back into the fair value gap, and then you see it taps it one more time before leaving. So that's a good example of what inversion fair value gaps like to do. So I'm liking this guy up here, and this is the hourly that we're looking at here. I always like to make it crazy colors of yellow or something like that for. So as you can see, it's coming back again, tag. Now it's going to leave. And we're starting to look for an upside objective up here in New Zealand dollar. So I'm looking for up here. That upside for the hourly. Now if we can get on top of that, kind of like the climbing the rock analogy that Michael likes to use, if we can get on top of this one and start to motor up, then we'll start to look for a breakthrough this order block inside that big breaker inside here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hour breaker before it ran all the way back down again. So I'm looking for it to start climbing on top of these to get further upside. NASDAQ, yeah, NASDAQ's got some, there's that little price imbalance that's up in here. Let's start off at the weekly here. There's that upside objective on the weekly we're still aiming for. The daily. Let's try to go further here. You see where we are in price right now. And my screen doesn't go that far back without getting too messy. But you see the gray area just up here. So we're looking to break that high upside objective for the week is into that fair value gap. There's a daily fair value gaps inside there as well. We're already inside that from here to here. So there's upside objectives for that. Your daily fair value gaps on the downside that seem to be supporting price. See how it's supporting price here? That fair value gap's come down. Now we haven't had anything come back and retest it, which is fine. It hasn't retested it, but it has, excuse me, has provided support here. We've got above it. We're on top of this little fair value gap inside here now. Let's zoom in a bit more. You see this one inside here. There to there. Now, if we get on top of this one, find some support here, we can continue up to that gray area, the weekly objective that we were talking about. So look to see price climb up on top of this fair value gap. It can dip back into, remember wicks can do some damage, so it can wick back into this area here. I'd like to see this this is like a reprice rebalance, so you can almost look at this as an empty fair value gap. I want to see that still hold price. I don't want to see it come back down too far back below this midpoint. So you got the midpoint, it shouldn't come back into there again. Find some support here, push up. That's where I'm kind of looking for that. So look for this area here on the daily. Find your setup occurring in around this area for further upside for the week. Be careful, non-farm payroll. Get all your trades out by Wednesday, unless you're more of a season type guy. And gold. Gold did a nice, lovely little run this morning. Came all the way back down into that little fair value gap down in here. And nice little response off of that. This was my call the other day. It came down a lot further than expected. So let me just get those out of there now. But I was looking for more upside. All these arrows just start getting confusing after a while. All right, so if we look at the range here that was created, we have optimum trade entry here, right inside that fair value gap. Beautiful response off that this morning. And obviously we have this massive open here to play with, this fair value gap. We're inside here now. So different types of objectives. These were the daily objectives. Order block. We have a breaker here. These up close candles running below an old low. We're back into those. Will they provide support? If not, if they do drive all the way through now, and we get this order block here, which is another breaker above highest up close candle running below, is the parent breaker of this whole range right here. Run below here. If we get through the midpoint of that, and we start to get up into the rejection block, look for this higher time frame daily fair value gap. Which is way up there. But we're going to get through this highest body candle. This one here, you can kind of ignore that one, because that one is inside there. That's just to fill the fair value gap. So we're looking at this breaker here to provide support. If we do get support, if it eats right through it, we should probably get a full fill of the fair value gap first, come back down, some measure of movement or inside this fair value gap before running above equal highs, and then push up into that fair value gap on the daily. So look for a retracement back into here. If we're looking at this range again, if this is the range that's just happened now, look for a pullback into these equal highs here, tag the equal highs, run back into maybe fill the fair value gap. Unless that stays open, then we have a nice breakaway gap forming, and look for a continuation to fill the fair value gap here on the hourly, and then run the equal highs out. That's it. That's the best I got this morning. I will see you guys in a month or so. Keep your eyes on the prize. I'll talk to you again soon.